If you're seeing this right now, you may have heard quite a bit about Dune Part 2 online recently. Many are saying it's the movie of the decade and comparing it to the likes of Empire Strikes Back and The Godfather 2. It recently also just broke the top 5 list on IMDb for the highest rated films of all time, just overtaking The Dark Knight with a 9.0 out of 10 rating. So with all the excitement about the movie, I decided to hit the theater and see for myself if Dune Part 2 was really the masterpiece that everyone is saying that it is. And it completely is. This movie is a huge improvement over the first, and I'm going to get into the details right away, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, this is the official spoiler warning. And let me just say right off the bat, Denis Villeneuve is a fantastic director. His style completely works for the franchise, and I think that he really understands how the characters are supposed to interact with one another. This is a revenge story, picking up right where the first one left off. It shows the aftermath of the Harkonnen attack, and how Paul, played by Timothée Chalamet, learns the ways of the desert people. He falls in love with Zendaya's character, Chani, who shows Paul how to survive in the harsh environment. There were quite a few improvements in Part 2 that I really enjoyed when compared to the first one. One was how they trimmed the fat quite a bit. There was a lot less majestic shots with music that interrupted good character dialogue, and 2 was the use of the sandworms. We got to see how the sandworms work, and how to ride them, how to call them, and how to control them. We even learned that the source of the water of life comes from inside of the sandworms. There were also quite a few standout performances in this film that I would like to bring special attention to. One was definitely Dave Bautista. Bautista once again demonstrates his range and his sheer ability to convey emotion. His character Glossu is a complete brute, but also a coward at the same time, and I don't think that anyone besides Bautista could have pulled that off quite like he did. Another amazing performance once again would be Austin Butler. He plays Bautista's brother, Fede, and is just a complete deranged psychopath. Every time he's on screen, there's just a veil of tension floating in the air because he is just so sporadic and unpredictable. You never know what he's going to do next. Dune Part 2 really expands upon the lore behind the planet Arrakis, showing us the difference between the North and the South, showing us the capital city, and even the difference in ideologies and accents between the Northern Fremen and the Southern Fremen. Part 2 also fully shows the importance of water, something that was somewhat absent from the first film. We even see them extract water from a person who is still alive. We get to see a religious pool where the Fremen put the moisture of their dead kin, and subsequently see it get destroyed later on. Part 2 greatly expanded upon the antagonists, the Harkonnens, who are the house that seek to oppress the Fremen on Arrakis. The way their homeworld is portrayed is wonderful. Completely void of color or vibrancy at all really makes clear to the viewer that this is a dystopian society without any culture or joy. Even the fireworks on this planet are completely monotone, white and gray colors. Back to Arrakis, we get to see Paul's struggles to fit in amongst the Fremen people as he slowly rises through the ranks, proving himself to be a warrior time and time again. His mother is also pregnant during this time, and the fetus inside her speaks to her in an eerie, unsettling kind of way. Paul's mother is the one spreading the word that her son is the Messiah, destined to lead the Fremen people to paradise, even if Paul doesn't believe it. Stilgar, played by Javier Bardem, is also a phenomenal standout in this film. He plays a figure of guidance for Paul in the Fremen ways, sort of like if Paul were the apprentice, Stilgar would be the master. He is also somewhat of a comedic character, but not so comedic that it becomes distracting. He is one of the hardest believers in the Messiah prophecy, and it seems that no matter what Paul does, Stilgar's belief only solidifies. Paul gets his new Fremen name, Usul, which means strength, and Marib, like the desert mouse that points the way. Austin Butler's character then replaces Dave Bautista as the Duke of Arrakis from the Harkonnen family, and launches full-scale assaults on the Fremen people. And the whole time this is happening, Paul is having dreams about the future, that if he travels to the south of Arrakis, he will be hailed as a godlike figure and his power will grow immensely, which terrifies him. The assault on the Fremen leave Paul no choice but to go south, where, just as he predicted, he becomes a godlike figure to the millions of Fremen people living underground, and fully embraces his destiny to lead these people. After revealing to the Emperor that Paul is alive, and so too is the Atreides bloodline, the Emperor decides to visit Arrakis himself and demand that the Harkonnens find Paul and kill him. This would be all too late, however, as this was a trap set by the Fremen people, and Paul ambushes the Baron of the Harkonnen family and kills him. We also learn that Paul's mother is a Harkonnen, meaning that Paul is half Harkonnen and half Atreides, making Austin Butler's character his cousin, and the Harkonnen Baron, who he just killed, his grandfather. What follows is a tense one-on-one fight to the death between Paul and Fede, with Paul ultimately coming out on top. This fight is amazing because Paul uses his training from the beginning of the first movie along with his newfound training as a Fremen to defeat his cousin Fade. After Fade is dead, Paul makes the Emperor bow at his feet and kiss his father's ring, fully embracing his newfound power and control over the Fremen people, before taking the Fremen army and launching a war against the other powerful houses. This is where the movie ends. Dune Part 2 was a drastic improvement over the first one. The themes and religious parallels to the real world make the story all the more interesting. My favorite part of this movie is when Paul walks up to the Harkonnen Baron and stabs him in the neck, killing him, while Fade watches with a smile on his face as if he enjoyed it. I think Fade respects Paul for actually doing what Fade always wanted to do, and that's kill the Baron. Overall, there was very little that I didn't like about this film. One small complaint would be the fact that the Atreides family atomic weapons are stashed in the Iraqi desert for some reason. They really make no sense to be there. And another would be the absence of the voice. I think it was a little bit underused in this movie and definitely could have played a larger role. In conclusion, Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2 is nothing short of a work of art, and I would highly recommend you see this in theaters if you get a chance. Let me know what you guys thought of the movie. I love discussing movies with you guys, and if you liked it and want more of this type of content, make sure to please hit that like and maybe subscribe if you want to also. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I'll see all you guys next time.